and I do hope I live up to that kind of reputation. That's a big ask. Uh, it's wonderful to see all of you here. Uh, I've been one of you before. I've been in this country for only 10 years, so it hasn't been long since I've been on that side of the table, so I know what it feels like. That's why when Kam asked me to speak about it, I put my mind to it and said, what is it that might interest people? And came up with a theme which I called Newcomer Challenges, a Fresh Perspective. So the idea is to give you something to think about, take away, and hope it's useful for you. Thanks also to Skills for Change and to CP Ontario for inviting me here today. That's much appreciated. Thank you. Just over 10 years ago, I too was a struggling newcomer in Canada. By doing some things right and with some luck, I've been fortunate to have achieved my personal goals. Some of you would describe that as a success story, which is why I guess I'm here today. I'd like to share some insights with you in the hope that it will give you a fresh perspective. Today, I want to start telling you a little bit about myself. I'll explain how I got started in Canada and how I got to where I am today.
John, you can take one. So, just
Hold it closer. All right, okay.
Thank you.
Is that better?
Yes.
Sure. After that, I'll share 3 key themes that I think will be relevant for you. Hopefully, these themes will enable you to fast track your own career paths. But before that, briefly, here's my story. When I arrived in Canada, I was already in my mid-40s. Previously, I had worked in 3 countries, as Kam has mentioned: India, Mauritius, and South Africa. Each time, I had to adapt to the local environment. So when I arrived here, I knew what was in store for me: a lot of more adapting. Not long after I landed, I realized that my resume left much to be desired. Not my experience, mind you. My experience was great. My resume wasn't up to scratch. This I found out when I spoke to a very knowledgeable friend of mine, and he kind of reviewed my resume and said, you know what, this is not going to work over here. We set about fixing the problem together. He literally interviewed and graded me in depth and forced me to recall success stories from my life, success stories from my career, which we then put down on paper as a part of my resume. Through a very painful 2-week process, my resume was completely transformed. That, and as a matter of fact, I remember joking to myself, who is this guy? I don't even recognize him, but that's the fact, and when you put in a lot of effort, you get a quality product. That was my cue, the resume makeover, that was my cue to go all out with my job search. Meeting with contacts and recruiters, networking feverishly, and applying for all the jobs that I thought were relevant for me. Within 2 months, I was hired for my first role, which was a contract position. Nothing unusual over there. Within 3 months, however, mine was converted into a full-time role. As a part of my title, I had a manager in there somewhere. So I was really thrilled, I thought I made it in Canada. Soon thereafter, my hiring manager told me that mine was one of the best resumes that he had ever seen. The investment of time and effort that we had put together, that friend of mine and I, in giving my resume a makeover, had really paid rich dividends. The takeaway, friends, is that your resume can become your most powerful weapon. Make no mistake. If need be, you should consider, the services of professional resume writers and such. I'm not advertising for them, but I think it's. I was lucky to find someone who was a friend of mine who was very skilled at it. But if not, I think I would have done well to have taken some professional help. Once I got into the system, I didn't rest for a single second. I ensured that all my skill sets were put to very good use. For example, I was never satisfied with the status quo. I assessed systems and methods and then constantly tried to improve the way things they were done. Process improvement has always been a passion of mine. I decided it wasn't enough to be just an accountant, but rather very necessary to be a business partner. There's a big difference. I've always worked in the private environment and my employers notice the difference being a business partner versus an accountant. You must think about that. I diligently answered every single email, completed every task. I became dependable, never saying no to a task or a challenge. Over time, I steadily progressed. So how did I get my current role? It's a classic example of networking success. Now I can hear the groan going around the room. Everyone's heard of this buzzword and is wondering, does it really work in real life? Once again, take my word for it, it does, and big time. In 2008, after taking a role that I didn't particularly enjoy, I was looking for a change. I let my close friends know about it as well. That's the great thing about networking. Instead of me looking for a position all by myself, I had my network assisting in my search. It's all about increasing the odds. Then, and hear me carefully, then there was a chance meeting at a wedding. A close friend of mine met with a big 5 CA firm partner from whom we learned that my current employers were looking for a controller. It was a well-established family-owned Canadian business, and that was to my advantage because I had worked internationally with similar groups for 15 years before I landed in Canada. I intimately knew the struggles of some of these enterprises. Things moved very quickly thereafter, and within a week I was hired. That's how powerful networking can be. Since joining my current company, I've continued to learn and grow each step of the way. My throat runs dry. As a senior executive, I've become more entrepreneurial. For example, I took complete ownership of one of the largest rooftop solar projects in this province. I managed, and this is while working for my current company, I managed the project like a business unit head in addition to my accounting role. No one told me to do it, I just took it on. We overcame some significant challenges and ensured a financially successful outcome. I've come to understand the importance of asking the right questions. It's not about knowing all the answers. You don't have to be a subject matter at everything. Now, in today's world, thanks to Google or being able to ask people, really it's about asking the right questions. The smarter person is who knows who can ask the right question. The answers are all there. The skill lies in firstly being able to understand the problem, which a lot of people don't do, and then being able to frame the right question. Lastly, another important skill that has helped me is the ability to lucidly capture the essence of any project, activity, or discussion in a few key points. This is a valuable skill set, my friends, because in today's world, no decision maker has the ability to digest 50 pages of a report. You must be able to produce an executive summary that becomes a project roadmap and a tool for execution and control. That, my friends, is my story. More important than that, however, is your story. How will you write your own story? I'll relate a few key themes here that might help making your story a success story. The 3 themes I'm going to talk about are improving your mindset, number 1. Number 2, moving towards a goal. And number 3, maximizing your chances. So the first themes, my dear friends, is improving your mindset. Newcomers tend to mingle most often with other newcomers, sharing a common theme and story. That one being struggle. Newcomers are also influenced by others, previous immigrants, who have not been very successful in their own lives. This could well foster a very negative mindset. Many of you may have heard these following comments. I certainly did. You would have been better off staying in your home country. Why did you come to Canada? It's impossible here. This type of thinking is extremely destructive. You must avoid it at all costs. Make no mistake, avoid it at all costs. And I'm not saying this because it's untrue. There is truth in that it's challenging. But you're here already. You've landed. What's the point in you're already struggling? You don't need 10,000 other people to tell you that there's a struggle. You know it. You want someone who will help you find a solution. That's why it's destructive, not because it's untrue. People don't get that. So this type of thinking is extremely destructive, and you must avoid it at all costs. It saps your energy and prevents you from putting your best foot forward. Instead, you must make every effort to remain positive. How do you do that? I'm going to tell you some things which I don't know how you'll take them. It's easy for me to say. Avoid bad mouthing Canada, Canadian employers, and the Canadian system. Avoid toxic people like you would avoid a contagious disease. Literally. Stay away from them, Identify them. You know who they are. Keep an open mind. Try and adapt and evolve yourself. Here's another flavor to this, improving your mindset theory. Another great idea is to start by thinking and being like a Canadian. How do you do that? Get interested, for example, in ice hockey or the Blue Jays or the Raptors. Generate some interest. Read about it in the papers. That can be done. Read about current affairs and local politics. For example, have an opinion on the condo boom that you see in Toronto or the condo bubble. Take your pick. Or about Rob Ford and John Tory. You've got enough subject matter over here. The key is to be well informed and be part of the conversation. Don't be an outsider. Us immigrants typically complain about the winter. Unfortunately, that's not going to make it go away. I personally embrace the winter. I learned downhill skiing in the last 3 years, and I was already in my 50s at that time. So just to give you an example of how, if you put your mind to it, you can make these things happen. Okay friends, now that your mindset is in the right place, let's talk about the next logical steps as you march into the future. My second theme is, how can you start moving towards your goal? A good first step is to be a volunteer. By doing so, you'll get involved in the local community and help other people. That helping other people is extremely important. If you are willing to help, they'll help you. You should even consider options that are not linked to your line of work or a profession. For example, be a volunteer at the local food bank. Who knows, perhaps you might get a recommendation or hear about job openings. My own volunteering experience includes serving as an executive committee member at our community association. It's called the Ontario Company Association, about 300 people strong, and the Toronto chapter of the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India. Both were personally enriching experiences and helped me a whole bunch of influential people. They also served to enhance my leadership skills. That community association that I talked about, I was a vice president and a president over a 2-year period. Another aspect of moving towards your goal is your appearance. The professional look is extremely important in Canada. Take care to dress well and be presentable. If necessary, get your family and friends to help out with this. I am not so good at this. I always struggle with ties matching with the shirt, and my wife would tell me, "Where are you coming from? These colors don't match at all." so if you're like me, don't try and do it yourself. Get someone to help you. Body language is extremely important as well. always try to project confidence. I know this sounds very easy. It's like a switch on, switch off. Even if you're not confident, pretend to be confident. It's extremely important you understand that difference, because if your body language tends to give you away, you know. So even if you're not, kind of stand in front of the mirror and make yourself believe that you're confident. It's extremely important. As you start moving towards a goal, you need to develop your story. Think about your skills and your unique selling proposition. Look back through your experience and pick out 5 success stories from your career wherein you made a positive difference, and hopefully a measurable one. I remember I told you about how I had done that. A friend of mine had sat me down and grilled me about it and made such a difference. So you must do that too, and I'll tell you why. You should be able to work these stories into any discussion, into any conversation, particularly into any. That will allow you to start becoming the embodiment of the attributes and qualities that employers look for. For example, leadership, teamwork, integrity, you know all these buzzwords. So these stories should relate, to these attributes. So my friends, we are now focused on your mindset and what you're moving in the right direction. Once you started doing that, how can you maximize your chance? How can you maximize your chances? That, my friends, is my third and final theme for this morning, maximizing your chances. I believe that requalification is extremely important, and I'm doing a pitch here. Enrollment in a course like CPA proves to employers that you're serious and adaptable. You come in, when you don't have something like that to show, you're at a bit of a disadvantage. The moment you get into any program, they now know that you're going to put in that kind of effort that's required. So requalification is, even when I say requalification, it's not the success of requalification. Even entering the program is very important. It opens up, when you enter into a program, it opens up new vistas of peer groups and job boards. I think all of you know what I mean by that. Canadians, including other immigrants, are generally willing to help and want to help you, but you have to make it easy for them. This is very important, hear me very carefully. Treat every contact as a potential employer and every meeting as a job interview, even amongst your friends. Don't take anyone for granted. Just because you're meeting a friend, and if you're going to talk about a job situation, you can't afford to be frivolous. You have to be extremely, that's the training self-discipline that you have to give yourself. Remember, they'll not put their own reputation at risk unless you can inspire confidence. They've gotten to where they are by struggle. They are not going to put it at risk just because I knew you 10 years ago from back home. So you have to understand that and show them value as to why they should back you. I'll give you an example of this. During the last 6 months, I was approached by 2 young people who had been referred to me by acquaintances. When I spoke to them, I realized that they were not ready for the workplace. They hadn't done their research, nor had they done their homework. I coached them and I tried to help them I was trying to help them do their part in helping themselves, because they are the ones who needed help, not me, right? So my coaching to them was, do whatever it takes from your side. It was very much in vain, because very soon I realized that all they wanted of me is to find them a job. Somehow, like an entitlement. Never be that kind of a person. I'm going to speak about something else which might ring a bell with you folks. I call it CQCE, which is short for Canadian Qualifications and Canadian Experience. I'm aware that this is quite a bottleneck for immigrants. By a show of hands, how many of you had to face that problem here? Lack of a Canadian qualification and experience. I had that problem. Let me tell you something. It's much misunderstood. This is a code for something very different. When the employers are already aware of your technical competency, what they and the recruiters are asking about is your fit, about your ability to integrate in the Canadian workplace, and about your your ability to communicate well with your colleagues. Understanding the difference is crucial for two reasons. Very, very crucial. First, so that you do not get demotivated when each time somebody asks you about Canadian qualifications and experience. But that question is not going to go away. So it's important that you understand what it means and you're better prepared. Secondly, and more importantly, you are able to plan ahead and are better prepared to answer the question as best as you can. For example, if you've done your research, you may be able to show that the lack of Canadian qualification and experience will not impede you from being a success in the role you're interviewing from, right? Because if you're well qualified, if your skill set is matched to that role, it doesn't matter that you don't have Canadian qualification and experience. Especially if you are able to provide success stories to prove a point. Now for the third time, so the success story comes into play here. Another aspect of maximizing your chances, and it's already been spoken for, is mentoring. A lot of the chat, the conversation was around mentoring. It's extremely helpful. I highly encourage you all to take advantage of it. And I've known of this is hearsay, but I've heard a lot of people who have been able to get breaks through their mentors. But don't take that for granted. I have a friend at a placement agency for contract roles. I asked him for advice that I could share with you. His tips for maximizing your chances are as follows. 1. Don't be overly concerned with salary when looking for your first job. Remember, it's all about experience. It's all about gaining the learning and the experience. Number 2. Do whatever is necessary to get a local work reference, which is so very important. Don't be afraid to step down a level to do that. 3. Get involved with peer groups. It widens your network, gets valuable insights into the local environment. 4. Have a strong presence on social media. Your LinkedIn profile must match your resume. This is an area that I too am not very well informed about. I'm hoping to learn something about it if some of the speakers after me can chat about it. But I know that it's very, very critical, and I'm sure you do too. 5. Research and target companies. Go knocking on doors and sell yourself. You got to do it. Be persistent and don't ever give up. Number 7, last and number 7, return phone calls and say thank you. Don't ever take anyone for granted. I cannot tell you how many times I've had newcomers reach out to me for advice and then lack the common courtesy to follow up with a simple thank you. When someone does that, they not only lose that first contact, but that entire network that relates to that contact. And most often people don't realize it. That's the saddest part of it, they take it for granted. So don't take that for granted. You have to maintain those courtesies. Hopefully, my friends, these tips will enable you to progress your career. However, once you get your foot in the door, produce far more value than your paycheck. It's an investment in your future. There's a tendency to say that I'm getting this much of salary, I'm going to do this much of work. That's the biggest mistake that you can make. If you can do this much for this much salary, go ahead and do it. Because I promise you, it comes back to you. Either in that same job later on as you progress, or even in another job. I've seen that happen. And I've seen people who do that measurement and stay within that, never progress in life. So this doesn't matter whether you're a newcomer or somewhere else. It's a universal law. So those were the 3 themes once again. Those were 3 themes, my friend. The themes once again are improving the mindset, moving towards your goal, and maximizing your chances. There are a few thoughts that I want to leave with you. Obviously, not everything I have said will apply universally to each one of you. Each and every individual and situation is completely different. You know yourself, your strengths, and most importantly, your weaknesses more than anyone else. Adopt and apply what I have said, whatever works for you. Forget about the rest, it's irrelevant. Always give off your best, never stop doing that. I did a lot of research before I migrated to Canada. Everyone I asked told me not to come, especially as I was well settled and the struggle that you can. I decided to come anyway and give it my best shot. We had our challenges. After our landing in 2002, I returned immediately to South Africa and continued working there for about a year and a half. My wife, who had given up a successful career in South Africa, had to look after our 2 kids while she worked 2 part-time jobs during those early days, including one at a call center. Those were difficult times, but we got through them. I worked hard and eventually became a controller and then a CFO. My current employers have been tremendously supportive, enabling me to grow and discover new competencies and skill sets. I'm thoroughly enjoying myself 7 years into my role, as my responsibilities and horizons expand well beyond the confines of a conventional CFO role. The kind of stuff that I do, people would probably let go of an arm and a leg for. I'm really fortunate. What more could one ask for? Delivering the keynote today at Skills for Change is particularly meaningful for me. The founder of our company, Naveen Sindaria, himself an immigrant in the mid-70s, was a Pioneer for Change honoree 3 years ago. I have no regret about making Canada my home. When I landed in Canada, I struggled with my self-confidence, like everyone else. I reinvented myself, worked hard, and here I am today. Maybe in coming years, you will be standing here giving the speech. Good luck and thank you.